Okay, guys, welcome to tonight's Zoom. We've got a few things to work through. As usual, we've got some milestones to acknowledge. 50th game, Chris Cook in the field. Actually, they're all field umpires. So Cookie came from the Sandford, did a bit of league footy there, and lives up in the York Peninsula. So it's great that he can still umpire with us. He's doing his 50th game this week. And 200th game goes to Craig Collins and Rod George. So well done to you guys. All right. Our main topic tonight is, once again, dangerous tackles. Obviously, it's a real focus, a real concern for the league. And I'll just revisit our journey with dangerous tackles. I've been through this a few times, but for those that haven't been umpiring that long, I'll just remind you where we came. So I started this role in 2015, decided pretty early on that we had a bit of an issue we had to sort through, trying to determine what's a red card, what's a yellow card, what's just a free kick, and what's a tackle that isn't really a dangerous tackle. Where there's no free kick is not easy to decide. We went through a time where I was trying to determine what was a red and yellow with different guidelines. It wasn't really working. Then we went really hard line on it and just did everything a red card. And we found that there was probably too many unnecessary tackles being reported at the time, or whether or not the league was quite ready for that approach, I'm not sure. But we kind of backtracked a bit, and our sort of approach in recent times has been to at least pay a free kick if you think it's dangerous, and to pull out a yellow card if you think it's a bit more serious, and then approach me during the week if you want to upgrade it. And if you did want a red card it, what's the matter, Barry? And if you did want a red card it, we'd back you up. So that's been the approach till now, but obviously this year there's been a real crackdown on dangerous tackles, and we're finding that we're sometimes paying just free kicks for tackles that probably need, or they do need more than that. So I'm going to show you an example of one that occurred on the weekend. I'll show you a couple from the Gulba-Glenunga game. So just let me get the share screen up. So Paul Smith's in charge of both of them. And up until the weekend, with the instructions that we had, he did what I kind of expect him to, but we're going to have to change that approach. So just bear with me. All right, so here we go with the first example. So, all right, so I'll just show it again. It's, hang on, I jumped to the wrong spot, just bear with me. Okay, so here we go. I'll just slow-mo it. So Glenunga player takes possession of the ball. The Gulba player comes to tackling near the boundary line, wraps him up, which is fine. And right then, he then lifts him up, takes him to the ground in a slinging motion. Fortunately for the player, there was no head contact. He was able to jump to his feet. Paul rightfully paid a free kick for a dangerous tackle. Player was able to get to his feet. There was no remonstration really, and a free kick was all that was done at the time. The crackdown on dangerous tackles means that it's not okay now from here on in just to pay a free kick in that instance. What we want to do with carding is not only if we see that someone's injured, but if we actually see that there's a potential for a serious injury, we want that to be carded. And we're now going to say, if you can be sure that that result is either caused an injury or there's a potential to cause injury, we want you to red card it straight away. So we would actually want that tackle red carded. Let me just play it one more time. Sorry, I didn't quite get it there. Bear with me. Here we go. So the lift and the dump into the ground, you just didn't need to take him to ground there. So the player was very lucky there was no head contact. At the end of the day, there was a potential for serious injury. The player's been offered 4 weeks, I think. And so that's a tackle we want to outlaw and penalise. So any questions on that? So in that instance, we've gone from it being okay just to be a free kick to now a red card is expected.
Hey, right, Colin, can I ask a question? Sorry, it's Luke.
Sure, mate.
That red card, is that off for the game or?
Very good question. Yeah, very good question. So it is obviously can't be replaced for 10 minutes. And in most cases of these dangerous tackles, it's okay for them to come back on after 10 minutes. But if you think it's a really, like there's some real malice in the tackle, which you think by him coming back on, the players are going to be after them, then you can say, it's your discretion, you can say the rest of the game. But for that particular tackle, it'd be okay to let the player back on after 10 minutes. But the team has to play a player short, like a red card. So, yeah, thanks for clarifying that. That's good. All right, the second one, which is a yellow card, was actually given by Paul. Okay. So this one here, call play on, he thought he had marked it. And then he played a sling. There was some aggression here. The player was hurt. The head went into the ground. The tackle was actually okay initially. And then as he was taking the ground, he really drove him into the ground. So Paul, in this instance, he realises the player's hurt. He realises there's a lot of remonstration. He does the right thing in yellow carding to get the player off, to calm things down, and rightfully asked to be looked at. And it's been decided that that is going to be a 3-week suspension. So in that instance, just watch it. It's called play on. It's off hands. Takes him to the ground. Right there is okay until he turns him and then drives him into the ground and slams his head in. So again, in that instance, Paul did the right thing by what we had have expected till now. It's probably a bit of a harder one to assess on the spot whether it needs to be a red card straight away. But if you are sure that the tackle had the potential to cause injury or has caused injury and you want to issue a red card, no problem. But at least needs to be a yellow with a discussion afterwards whether we upgrade. And that has been upgraded. So I guess where some of you have sort of decided whether you're going to use a card or not has been based a little bit around the remonstration or the player being injured. That's not that's not how you should be assessing from here. It really is, in your opinion, whether the tackle has caused an injury and there was something negligent from the tackler that they did wrong that caused it, or if there's a potential to cause injury. So like in that first one, even though there was no injury, there was a potential for that to be quite serious. The other change to the process, yeah, sorry.
Colin, just a question. Is there going to be any scenario in which a dangerous tackle is not going to be carded? Because from my point of view, a tackle being dangerous sort of means that it does have potential to cause injury.
No, so there are examples where a tackler goes to ground with the with the player being tackled, and he does everything he can to ensure that there's no injury, but there's just a I guess the momentum of the players going forward means that unfortunately, sometimes people get hurt, and if you are 100% certain that it's those instances where it's just been a pure accident, well, you could probably pay a free kick and no one's going to be concerned about it, but you don't need the card. But the players need to be aware that sometimes there's no need to take them to ground, and they shouldn't have to. Or they certainly don't want to lift if they see a lift. If you see a sling, that grab the Guernseys and sling them down. So I actually want to. So they're the two from the weekend. I want to show the interpretations video, which is what we sort of used a bit in the last 3 years to kind of keep highlighting how we deal with dangerous tackles. I just want to show, there's 3 examples here where we've said it's okay just to use just to pay a free kick. So if you look at the first one, we probably think that the first one's still just a free kick. There really isn't. So yes, there's a somewhat a sling around, but there's no real potential for injury with the way that eventuates. So a free kick on its own is fine. With this one, it is a bit of a lift there to start with. The way he brings him down isn't overly dangerous, but certainly enough for a free kick. If you gave just a yellow card, if you gave a yellow card there, we could live with that. But that one probably wouldn't be upgraded. But the third example that we did have on the interpretations video where we said it's just a free kick, this is the one where we would want a red card or at least a yellow where we would upgrade. So grabs hold of the Guernsey and he slings to the ground, because that one is really dangerous. So does that make sense? Josh, is that those 3?
Yeah, thanks. That's clarified.
Yeah. Hey, I realise, guys, this is not easy. This is not an easy area. What I'm saying to is erring on the side of being stronger than weaker with dangerous tackles. What we've been doing in the last 3 or 4 years hasn't changed behaviour, and the league's on a mission to eliminate the dangerous tackles as best they can. So if you're thinking, is it just a free kick, or should I give a yellow? Give a yellow. If you're thinking, is it a yellow or give it a red? Give it a red.
Colin, just a quick one. Patrick here.
Yeah.
Because this has become such an issue and it's something we're going to be paying for years to come, I would just reckon it'd be helpful if we had more definitions around maybe the types of tackles. So like defining what a sling is versus a slam, falling like a guy getting tackled on his back. Because looking at those 2 incidents, the first one, he got he got more games, whereas I would have thought the other one was actually more dangerous. So we're going to need a bit of help to kind of define what is more likely to cause injury as well, because we're not medical experts. Or...
No, I get it, but it's not your decision. It's not your role to determine the length of the suspension or what's more serious than others. It's just whether it's serious or not, whether there's a potential for injury or not. I certainly think any lift off the ground is an instant concern. Grabbing hold of the Guernsey and slinging to the ground is an instant concern. It's the ones where the sort of momentum goes towards the ground and they're both being like the tackler's going down with the player. They can be difficult to assess. But what I'm saying at the moment, we're better to card than not in dangerous tackles.
I had one on the weekend, Colin, where, and I'm just thinking this is almost always a free kick, is if a guy gets held by the jumper and there's like a gap between the tackler and the player, you know how they kind of grab them from a distance and kind of throw them around? Is that almost, if a player grabs a guy's jumper and throws him to ground, just like slings him to the ground, that has to be a free kick no matter what?
That has to be a red card now, mate. It's with any sort of force with that sling in motion to the ground, that's a red card. We're now suspending for that action.
Yeah, it's the action. It's not, so we're not medical. It's the action of the tackle. That's what we're
100%.
paying.
100%.
Colin, can I ask one more question as well, please?
Sure.
In games where there's no footage to review afterwards,
Yep.
we got to write it up as best you see it and call you about it, discuss through it as best you can, because sometimes, as you've seen with those examples there's still a bit of grey even when you are reviewing on video.
Sure, absolutely. But in your mind, when you're umpiring and you see that the player has been injured or there's a potential for an injury, we want you to make that assessment at the time. And if you consider that a dangerous tackle likely to cause injury, then red card. So we're going to have less reviews afterwards. But if you are uncertain about whether it's likely to cause injury or not, and you give a yellow, give me a call. We'll discuss it after the game. But there's going to be less emphasis on the league going through all these instances and determining whether it's going to be a suspension, and more on what you guys think. So, and I'm happy for you to give me a call to talk through it if you're uncertain. But again, on the day, if you think there's a potential for serious injury in the tackle, then we want red cards issued now.
Hey, Cole, sorry.
Yep.
At Eastern Park on the weekend, great day out there. We had a guy that was tackled. The tackle fell to the Guernsey. He's actually pulled him around, but then finished tackling him. Everyone yelled out, it's a sling, but he actually didn't throw him to the ground. So he almost gave him a 180 swing as such, but then held him on. We called holding the ball because he had prior opportunity. He didn't actually throw him to the ground, or there was no second action. So all the players were really at us saying that's a sling. And technically it wasn't a sling because he didn't sling him. So we're doubting ourselves a little bit. It was out of sort of...
So what I'd say to you, with the current climate, don't think about it too much. Err on the side of playing a sling. And
Play the sling.
if he hasn't landed him on the ground, just a free kick in that instance. Perhaps it could be more if you think there's a potential for injury. Was it in the A grade, Smithy?
No, this is in the C's.
Okay.
So technically he actually pulled him around, then hugged him at the end, tackled him, and we called holding the ball, and everyone go, that's a sling, but actually it wasn't a sling. He actually tackled him at the end.
He's grabbed hold of the Guernsey, and slung him around.
He sort of swung him like literally 30 centimeters. That's it, and then he went back and tackled him. So no, he was standing up when he was finally tackled. Everyone said that's a sling. It's a sling. So it's good because players are getting the message, and we actually called holding the ball.
So my pet hate is holding the ball paid when there's a dangerous tackle. I'm not saying you got the decision wrong. I'm going to have to see it. But all I'd say is in the current climate, you're better to err on paying a dangerous tackle.
Yep. Cool. Thanks,
Yellow card even, because it's the action. It's not so much the outcome. You had the intent to follow through.
Yeah. But I mean, that's an interesting one because he actually hasn't gone to ground as such. But yeah, again, we're erring on the side of being tougher than less so. Yeah. Rob, did you have a question?
Will advice go out to clubs in relation to this week?
Yeah, 100%. Well, they get all my coaching notes. They get a copy of this Zoom, so the coaches, so they can watch that if they want to. But certainly, John Kernahan will be covering it extensively in his update.
It was quite evident a few weeks ago where you said that coaches were provided with information that some of them just didn't get it, and players hadn't even seen it. So that's challenging.
So the video that went out to the clubs, each club has been told they need to sign a document to say it's been shown to the coaches and players. I'm not sure exactly what that timeline was, but I don't think the due date's finished yet. So I think it might be at the end of this week. So just because players haven't seen it doesn't mean that they're not going to. But each club has been told they need to sign a document to say they've shown the players that video, which I'll put in our coaching notes again. If you haven't seen it, look through the dangerous tackles which have resulted in suspension this year. I'll forward that again. All right.
Just one more on that.
Can that same advice be sent to us as well?
What's that?
That goes out to coaches this week.
Well, John Canahan's update goes to you. I forward that on every week.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So that goes to all the clubs. As I said, that video is they're making follow-ups to make sure all the clubs sign off that that's been shown. So yes, and look, you may say that some haven't seen the video, and that's possibly true, but the awareness out there, and there's going to be a Channel 9 story tonight on the news. When you get off, you can watch the Channel 9 news tonight and have a look at what is in on the news tonight. There's a fair bit of focus on it in lots of ways. So, and the word will get around as these players keep getting suspended, that it's not okay to get to do what they've perhaps done in the past. So this league's on a mission. There's no doubt about it. It's a great thing. It's a great thing for the player safety issue. We're going to see some player behaviour change from this, but it's up to us to set up the plate and do what we have to do.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is a very good thing, and it's a good process that we're going through. But I think I would advise to really bombard all clubs with coaches and even supporters if they could convey that, because if you're going to keep on giving red cards and a lot of red cards to very good tackles that might be perceived to the crowd and coaches, there's going to be a lot of uneasiness during a game.
So Andre,
yeah,
we're not talking about good tackles. We're talking about dangerous tackles where the player is not showing a duty of care to the other player. So that is where the player is lifted, where he's slung, whether he's driven into the ground. So I
get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I had a situation. I was umpiring with the great man, Mr. Lewis, and I was in a situation. There was sort of a bit of a semi-sling to it. Injured a bit of his shoulder. He didn't walk out at all. I did pay a free kick on that occasion, but eventually did walk out off the ground with a sore shoulder or even whiplash, etc. Okay. If I did give a yellow or red, I could only perceive that would have been, a lot of uproar. And
no, Andre, the uproar is if you don't act. Okay, so we've got to get out of the old school. It's okay to tackle hard to the ground. The player has a responsibility. There are times where they don't need to take them to the ground. And if they do take them to the ground, they've got to take every care in what they can to not injure the player. 100%. So it is a change of thinking from perhaps what in the past where players were lauded for taking a player to ground and making it a tough tackle. Now the whole issue with concussion and injuries, there's a whole new focus, and there's too many players getting hurt by dangerous tackles, so we have to
I agree. And it's a fantastic notion that's happening, and it slowly will be quite successful in minimising concussion and serious injury. But just bombarding, especially coaches, and then advising the players pre-game, during the game, during the training, etc. I mean, really hit it hard where they say, look, the umpires are going to hit hard. They're going to give red cards, give yellow cards, because that'll make our job easier as well. Because
so that's being taken care of. So the league has sent out the video. They're getting all clubs to sign off on it. As I said, there's media. You'll see it on Channel 9 tonight. Players are getting suspended. So onus is on the tackle league. He's exactly right. So all we have to concern about is making sure it's clear in our head that we have to be on the lookout for it and act when we see something that isn't right. So again, go back to that video that was put out with all the suspensions this year. And just see the sort of where it's just unacceptable and where we have to act. And so feel free to contact me after a game if you've got concerns. But just repeating, if we see a tackle that has injured or is likely to injure, potential to injure, then red card is where we need to go now.
Okay, good. Thanks.
All right. Some other things. I did mention it a few weeks ago about the coaches on the boundary line. It does seem that a few of the coaches aren't or haven't heard that instruction. But so if we see that the coaches and the interchange players are creeping up along the boundary line and they're not back where they need to be on the bench, stop play and direct them to go back to where they need to be. So just be aware of that. I know we're focusing on the game and it's not top priority, but if you notice it, please act on it. I'll put in the notes about wheelchair footy. So that's something that the SANFL have done. Nathan Pepper's looking for some umpires for that. It's on a Friday night. I'll put all the details in the coaching notes. If you're interested, get in touch with Nathan. And for those that put their hand up to be involved in the Aboriginal Power Cup, that's on Thursday and Friday this week. We'll give you all the details in the coaching notes. So that's on this week. I did have a coaching video on control general play. I've probably got time to quickly show it, but before we do that, are there any issues from the weekend where anyone wants to raise anything? All right, so I'll bring up the coaching video. Just bear with me.
Sorry, Cole, Shane
Yeah,
here. I'll just ask one thing about the red card that I had on the weekend.
Yep.
Is it expected we do that straight after the game? Just being under that pressure to get to your second game and log it into the system, is it okay that we do that maybe after the second game?
Yeah, that should be fine, mate. Maybe just shoot me a text to say there's a red card. And that can be the priority, but I'd rather you get it done right. So yeah, certainly put the best players in after the game together, put the scores in, etc. But as for the red card, yeah, that's okay to do after your second game.
Yep, great, thank you.
All right, so we have about 7 minutes left. See if we can get through the coaching video. All right, so what's your decisions? One of these ones we've seen before. Bo, you want to take care of this one, mate? Unmute yourself.
I actually think I need to see that one again, Colin.
Oh, geez, mate, you don't get a second chance on game day.
Sorry, my eyes are going on me. Definitely pushing it back. Didn't get anywhere near the contest and the ball. Just took the other guy out pretty much.
Yep, unrealistic attempt, jumped early, didn't touch the ball, correct? Mark interference. I reckon this is the one. We've had this one before, so I'll keep moving. Balzy, you want to take care of the next one?
Yeah, that would be a yellow card in our new interpretation, or even a red.
Oh, hang on.
He got tackled.
Really?
He got swung around and put on the deck.
No.
Oh, no, that was the other one, was it?
Yeah, you're looking at the one before that. So
Yeah.
with this one.
Okay, right. I've got this one now. He got the ball and dropped it. Holding the ball.
Yeah. No genuine attempt to kick it. And so holding the ball. You've watched the video beforehand, have you?
No.
No? Okay, that's all right. All right. Rob McKay. Did you catch it? That's all right. We're running out of time, so maybe I'll take you through it. So with this one, it's a free after disposal. Make sure that you keep your eye on the last act of play. There's a kick and then knock to the ground. And Rob, you can have a go at this one if you want, mate.
It's really jumpy, Cole, but I saw a high tackle there.
Yeah, pretty hard to miss that one. Obvious and blatant. And the only other thing to notice in that little clip there is we have one of the umpires on our panel featuring Emmanuel Weira. He's jumping around there in an organzy. All right, let's have a look at some of the examples here. So control general play, which fits in nicely with what we've been talking about. Critical is set up in the first 10 minutes. Be aware of what's happening around us. This is a little pet hate of mine with this one. You can see there's a Crows player that puts his hand into the Eagles player head. I'd be wanting a free kick paid there for sure. So, yeah, Corey missed that one, but you need to be aware where there's a little bit of vigor in the game. Expect the unexpected. Here's something that is fairly topical. We would want that red carded. So there's a lift there. Player gets straight back up. Sample level, it's reported without a send-off, but we would want that red carded. In the sample, Tom Bryce, very good umpire, is informing the player who's been reported and then informing the player who's been offended against. It's the process. But he took control there, made sure that everyone knew that he was taking action, and certainly with what we've been chatting about, we would want that red carded. There's a big lift in the ground, in the air, and taking the ground. So that's the one we were talking about where there's no injury, but there's a potential for it. So with this one, this is an interesting one. Some of you may have seen this footage. Well, my videos are slowing down, but let's go back. It was Jason Horn-Francis tackling Darcy Fogarty, and yeah, I'm going to have to get you to have a look at that later. My screen's not working properly, but yeah, it's actually the tackle is just okay in that instance there, and so just getting in quick, there was some push and shove afterwards. I might stop the video there. We can look at the rest next week. We're running out of time, and also my video isn't working properly. Is there anything else people want to, anyone wants to mention before we wind up? All right. We'll see how we go with the dangerous tackles this week. But yeah, it can't be any more obvious what the focus is and what the league is trying to do. We need to step up the plate and adjust what we've been doing, front of mind, and take action when appropriate. Can't just rely on the video to do the work from here on in. We need to act on the day if we see a tackle that's dangerous. All right, guys.
Okay.
See ya on Wednesday night.
Thanks, Cole.
Yeah. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.